Hey everybody, it's me, Terry Chrisman, your admin here at this fantastic group, the Whole Food Plant-Based Lifestyle for Beginners Facebook group. When you do this online, today we are going to be talking about all the myths associated with eating plant-based. And there's so many of them. You hear them all over the internet and people argue about them at barbecues and family gatherings. And so that's what we're here to do today. I'm going to have lovely Claire Williams coming on the video. And oh, there she is. I can see her. I got to say yes to you. Hang on. Cancel. This is all awesome. Approve. Send invite, approve. Hopefully Claire will come very, very shortly. Hi, Corolla. How are you doing? Thank you for watching. I'm going to be having a look. I'm not too sure if I can actually look at the comments on the phone. So I've opened up the computer as well. It's down here. And hopefully if people ask comments, oh, there I am. If people ask comments, I can see them in the comments of the computer. So good morning. So happy to see you all. And of course, it looks like the loveliness of Facebook is not allowing me to bring Miss Claire on the video. So let me just press this button again and see what happens. Bring them on the video. I'm pressing the button. Mark Zuckerberg, I'm pressing the button. Come on. Let's try this again. Allow viewers. Corolla's here. There's Claire. Let's add her again. Approve. Ask Claire to join. All right. I'm already asking her. She's already here. It says it's adding. And it looks like by the magic of by the magic of computers, Claire is here, even though she is upside down and sideways.
Am I the right now,
You're
Terry?
up the right way now, but I'm looking at your ceiling. So you might probably want to give me a little bit more of you. Just
a bit more of you. Yeah,
just a
Facebook
little bit
wouldn't let
more.
me join. I had it round the right way. Then Facebook said, turn your camera around. And I did. And then it was like, nope, still not coming in.
It's
okay.
Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. So it looks like I'm not looking at the camera. So I'm really sorry. But my eyes seem to be like, oh, I don't know. I know the camera is there. And I'm kind of trying very, very hard to look at the camera, but I don't know what's going on. So what are we talking about today, Claire?
Hang on, what are we doing? What am I doing? What are you doing? We are talking about myths. One of my favourite topics, myths about plant-based diets.
That's right. And there are so many myths. So without further ado, because I know people who don't want to be, putting up with lots of bull dust in the beginning, let's just get right to it, right? So, by the way, if you're watching the replay, please type replay in the chat so that I know. And if you have any questions at all, I will endeavour to look at them. Just get yourself onto the chat and not the chat, what do you call it? The comments, and I will answer them live, and so will Claire. So what's the first one, which everybody, when you're out and you meet people who are not plant-based, what is the very, very first thing they say to you about eating plant-based?
Well, I mean, Terry, it has to be, where do you get your protein? Aren't you worried about your protein? What do you do for protein?
Oh my God,
I heard that so many times.
All we do is eat lettuce leaves and carrot sticks and drink water, and that's why we're all skinny and completely malnourished.
I mean, this is like one of the biggest misconceptions about plant-based nutrition, really.
Yeah.
Because people only associate protein with meat, but protein is basically everywhere, right?
It is. Protein is everywhere. It's in everything, people. It's in a banana. It's in a piece of lettuce. It's in a tomato. Now, granted, it's not in enormous amounts in those things, because those things, particularly your lettuces and your tomatoes, horror ear thing coming out, particularly your lettuces and tomatoes, are like 95% water. So for the calories, there's a lot, the amount of food, there's not a lot of protein in your lettuces and in your tomatoes, but there is protein in all the foods. And if you don't know what protein is amino acids. So there are 20 amino acids in the world. And 9 of these amino acids you need to eat. You can't make them, your body makes the other 11 all by themselves, like with other things, other little bits and bobs inside your body. Your body is just a big recycling plant, and it takes one thing and breaks it down and makes it into another thing. And that's what it does. And in order to get a protein, you need these amino acids in different amounts. And some plants have lots of one amino acid, but not very much of another amino acid. And other plants might have lots of the corresponding amino acid and not very much of another one. So the whole idea is, if you eat a varied whole food plant-based diet and you're eating all the food groups, so the food groups are vegetables, fruit, legumes, nuts and seeds, whole grains, and water. It's not really a food group, but whatever. If you eat them all, if you eat them all, you're going to get the whole complement of amino acids in the foods that you eat. So therefore, then your body can do its recycling thing, its building thing, and make new proteins for your body. Claire, what have you got to add to that?
I mean, again, I never worried about my protein intake. And the first thing I always say to people when they ask me, like, oh, why are you, where do you get your protein? I always say, like, have you ever heard of someone having a protein deficiency? Someone, obviously this does exist, but this is in very extreme situations where people are basically malnourished, right? So as long as you're eating a wide variety, like you say, beans, lentils, chickpeas, broccoli is great for protein as well. As long as you're eating like a wide variety and you keep your diet varied, then I don't think about protein. I only think about it when people ask me the question, and then I have to go through it again, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. But there are some foods that are higher protein than others. So let's go through them. You go first, then I'll tag team you. What's your highest protein food that you like to eat a lot of?
Yeah, I mean, any kind of bean, basically, right?
Legumes, yeah,
Black
that's right.
beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, beanie beans.
Yep, which also includes lentils. Yeah, would you
Yep.
put them in the same? Lentils, pulses, legumes, beans, they're all the same kind of family. They're
Yep.
pretty high in protein, aren't they? The very highest protein bean, if people are wondering, is the soybean.
Oh, there we go. I didn't know it was the highest one.
Yeah, the soybean is the highest one. In fact, soybeans are so awesome because not exactly, but good enough. They are equally 3 parts protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So if you didn't have any food and you were starving to death and all you had was lots of soybeans, you'd be all right. but that doesn't take into consideration all the masses of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients that the human body needs. But in a pinch, worst case scenario, Armageddon, if all you had was soybeans, you'd probably live a little bit longer than other people.
Get a block of tofu from your cupboard and you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the problem with a lot of people is that they actually eat too much protein, and too much protein can have play havoc on your kidneys and also your liver, and it creates this stuff called urea, and it basically gets you dehydrated as well. So you want to not eat too much protein. Now, there is a caveat, and that caveat is for pregnant women who need a bunch of protein, because guess what? They're building another person inside of them. And what builds another person? Protein, because all the little bit, you got to think of your body as like a Lego set. And you want to build another person out of your Lego, you need Legos, right? So the amino acids are the Lego blocks, and then they go together to make the proteins which build the people. So if you're having triplets, there'd be people, wouldn't they? Certainly, pregnant women need a lot of protein. Children, babies, people who are growing need protein. A lot more protein than your regular Joe Blow already matured adult. And the last, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna interject because another really good source of protein is nuts as well. So yeah, lots of different nuts, but then also you get the higher in fat. So if you're watching your weight, you have to be more careful, right? How many you consume. But they're also really good for protein sources.
They're a good protein snack, nuts, because
Mm.
they're very satiating. The fat and the protein keeps you satiated and not hungry later on. So they're really good to have in small quantities, like 30 grams or uh, 1 ounce or whatever they call it in America of nuts. Agreed, agreed. So there's one more group of people who really need more protein, and that is the elderly and also postmenopausal women. And I've been doing a ton of research in the last couple of months. I'm writing my book, in case you didn't know, I'm writing a book
Yay.
all about, yay, it's almost finished actually. I can't wait. Postmenopausal women need a little bit more protein, and it's not a ton, but then we have to do something with that protein, and we have to actively build muscle mass. And it's the same for people who are elderly. In fact, you want to start this way before you're elderly, so that when you are elderly, you don't suffer from this thing called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is loss of muscle mass. Loss of muscle mass can lead to low bone density, can lead to damaging yourself and breaks when you fall. There's all nasty, nasty things when you lose muscle mass. So protein's good for building muscle. It's also good for making enzymes and making all sorts of chemicals and things inside your body, regenerating tissues, healing. It does all sorts of things, but you don't need to be stressed about it. Just make sure you eat a wide variety of plant-based protein sources. And we already mentioned, sorry, beans. I got on got on a tangent. I know I said this was only going to be 30 minutes.
We've spent 15 on protein already, Terry, so we might have to do another session on myths, I think.
Right, very, very quickly. Whole grains, really good, particularly grains like quinoa, which I hate, but whatever. It's really good. It's got high protein, and oatmeal is really high in protein as well. So look for lovely whole grains. Whole grains are good for protein. And did you mention broccoli?
Broccoli, yeah.
Yeah.
I was really surprised when I first heard about that because I was like, nah, it can't be true. Broccoli has protein. No, but it's a really good source, right? Leafy
Yeah.
greens as well have lots of protein
Yeah.
as well. So
So you will hear people bust that statement too about broccoli. Oh, broccoli's got 25% protein, but it's per calorie, not per gram. So
mm.
when something like lean beef usually has about 25% protein, most of it's fat, then you'll find that that's not per gram. So you do need to eat a few more grams of broccoli to get the same amount of protein as you would for meat. And if you were just eating fruits and vegetables and nothing else, I would say that that was not a balanced diet, and that you would need to add some more high protein foods like your nuts, your legumes, and your whole grains. So
But
just to
you
be
know what,
sure, people.
you know what, Terry? I'm fine with eating as much broccoli as I can fit in me because it's a great, you don't have any guilt when you eat a whole bucket load of broccoli, right? You just know that it's good stuff. So, by the way, Carola has a question, which is
Oh,
this is a myth as well, I believe. So she says, what's true about soybeans and estrogen?
oh,
So there's a lot of warnings about this. And
okay.
I
Let's answer
remember,
that question.
yeah.
Okay. Do you want to answer it, or you want me to answer it? You answer it.
Well, this is getting more into kind of the nutrition science, right? So,
Yeah.
what I know is that it's not. This is kind of a myth as well, right? But I can't remember the details. Maybe you know, Terry, off the top of your head. Yeah, go
Yep.
for it.
Okay.
Rebecca,
So soy has these things called phytoestrogens, and they do not react in the body the same as animal estrogens. So the estrogens in your body, they help do things like lay down bone. They're obviously a hormone, so they're really important when it comes to reproductive system in a woman, and not so much in a man. And people are concerned that if they eat soy, then particularly you hear like men are going to get man boobs, like it's a feminizing hormone, and that if men eat it, they're going to get feminizing traits. Well, phytoestrogens do not work in any in any manner the same way as animal hormones. Now, so that's why we don't drink dairy, because there's animal hormones in the dairy, because hello, it comes from a female cow, and those estrogens are no good for you. But the phytoestrogens in soy are absolutely good for you, and you should not be concerned about them. Carola also mentions that they should only be consumed fermented. Not so. Not so. Look, fermented foods are great for the gut. They help populate the gut microbiome, and that's good for everybody. So anytime you want to eat some tempeh, which is a fermented soy product, or some natto, have you tried natto? It's disgusting, but I have Japanese friends who absolutely adore it, and they've tried to get me to try it, and I've tried it, and thank you very much. That's enough for me. But anytime you want to eat some fermented soy, that's going to be beneficial to your gut bacteria. The thing about soy is, please buy organic soy, non-GMO soy. And look, it's really hard to buy non-organic soy because most of the non-organic soy is fed to cows and pigs and other animals for
Yeah,
to grow them, to eat them.
I think that's another good angle to look at it, because I think it's something like 70% of the world's soy crops are fed as they're used as animal feed, right? And
Yeah.
so that's another thing that people may ask you, like, oh, well, soy is really bad because it's, destructive with destructive farming techniques, whatever. But then if you tell them, like, hey, actually most of that goes towards the animal industry, then it's kind of, this is also quite an interesting statistic that people don't necessarily know. But yeah, I always have organic, and I would recommend that as well.
That's true. And if we stopped giving the soy to the farmed animals and we stopped farming animals, we would not have a hunger problem in the world.
Yeah.
Because we have two parts of the world. We have the overconsumption world, which is your Western world, and then your underconsumption world, where people are starving. And if we could bring those two together and feed the starving people, that would be possible if we didn't feed the animals. And there
We
would be a
solve
few.
the world's problems in one
Solve the
Facebook
words.
Live.
Hunger problem. Okay. So thank you so much, Carola, for that awesome question. Go eat some tofu, honey. It's so good for you. Okay. Myth number 2. We talked about this very briefly because we mentioned hormones in dairy. Calcium has to come from dairy. Otherwise, our bones are going to be brittle. We're going to break them. We're going to fall over, and we'll be just a blob of jelly on the floor.
Yeah, I think we need to bust that myth as well today, Terry. But none of us want to be blobs of jelly on the floor, obviously. But yeah, this just simply, I mean, you think about the lobbying power that the dairy industry has. So of course, like there's a lot of research that has looked into this, and you have to look where the funding comes from for this kind of research as well. But there's also some studies that have shown that actually dairy can make it even worse, right? So dairy can actually cause the brittle bones, I can't say that, cause the brittle bones rather than making them stronger. So yeah, this is kind of contradictory information that we're getting.
Yeah. And the other thing about dairy is that dairy is the largest source of saturated fat in the US diet, and probably in, I know the Germans love their cheese, probably in Germany. Probably in France, they love their cheese there too. And saturated fat is what causes atherosclerosis. And if you don't know what atherosclerosis is, that is the fatty deposits that build up on the inside of your arteries and cause heart attacks and strokes and dementia. So we don't want those. The other thing is that dairy contains medications because the cows are fed medications, lots of antibiotics, also bovine growth hormone, because guess what? The cow is pregnant or was pregnant in order to lactate, just like a human being. You can't lactate a human woman without her being pregnant previously. It doesn't work. That's not how that's not how mammals work. So there's going to be sex hormones in there as well. There's also going to be stress hormones because dairy cows are not happy cows, and they're made to continue to produce milk even though their bodies don't need to anymore because their babies have been taken away from them, all that stuff. So that's not really good. Plus, dairy also has my most unfavorite thing, which is pus. So a lot of cows have mastitis because they have to put those little things on their teats all the time, day in, day out. They can get infections in there. If you've ever had mastitis, I have. It is the most painful thing on the planet. And what you don't want is to be drinking with your cereal in the morning a beautiful cup of pus.
No, no, nobody wants that. So rather than lingering on those pretty hideous details, let's look at the wonderful world of plant-based calcium. Terry,
Yes.
why don't we do that? We switch it around.
Okay, good idea. Good idea. You want to go
So,
first?
so I've got a list down here somewhere because I mean I'm not very good at on-demand stuff. So let me
All right,
see.
I'll start.
Yeah,
Almonds. Almonds
go
are
for it.
great. Leafy greens, soy products, soy milk, tofu, edamame, legumes, peas, beans, lentils, chia seeds, flax seeds, uh, and some fruit has calcium, the most being fresh figs and berries. And dried figs have even more calcium because the water's been taken out. So
Yeah.
I like figgy jam on my toast, extra calcium. Um, Sesame seeds, which may also includes tahini as well.
You're not leaving
So if
any foods for me to shout out here, Terry.
ah,
No, it's all good. I mean, like
that's it, there's no more.
what I want to actually point out is like all of those foods that you just listed, again, we're looking at a wide variety of different plant-based foods, right? So
Mm.
again, I don't really worry about calcium at all because I know that I'm eating a really wide variety. I'm eating from all those different food groups. And I know there's like little bits of calcium or protein or other, nutrients in there. So I really don't worry about calcium. I don't know about you, but it's not on my worry list every day.
Yeah, so just to get a little bit personal, I do worry a little bit about calcium because postmenopausal women, they need to be looking at it and finding out if you have any amount of osteopenia or osteoporosis. Now, some osteopenia and in case you don't know the difference between osteopenia and osteoporosis, osteopenia is a precursor to osteoporosis, which is brittle and fragile bones. And so you start off your life with strong bones, and your bones are the strongest as a female when you're 18 years old. So if you're a kid and you don't exercise and you don't play sports and you don't jump around and run around like a crazy person and all you do is sit on, and play the video games and stuff, your bones are not going to be as strong at age 18 as a girl who's playing netball, running, jumping, chasing the dog, doing all, trampolining, probably not so much trampolining, but doing all the things that will make healthy, strong bones. And then after the age of 18, this is what happens to your bone density. And it's very sad. But the way we can mitigate that decline is to continue to exercise from the time we're a kid to the time we die. And if you haven't been exercising during your adult years and you're postmenopausal, really you need to go and have a DEXA scan. I know we're getting into more things, but having a DEXA scan, speak to your doctor about it. They'll tell you all about it. It's non-invasive. You just lie on a bed, a little photocopier comes, copies you have a look, find out what your bone density is like. And then at that point, your doctor may or may not suggest calcium supplementation. So that is something that you may like to look into. But again, you still have to eat those calcium rich foods because you cannot, what's the word, substitute whole food calcium sources with a pill. It's just not the
Mhm.
same stuff. So even if you do need to supplement, that means on addition to the tahini and the beans and the legumes and the green vegetables and the almonds and stuff like that.
There's also plant-based milk. A lot of those have calcium added as well, right? So, yeah, that's also another way to kind of make sure, if you're not sure, like if you don't want to go calculating all the different amounts in the different foods, just with your cereal or just on a daily basis, get yourself some plant-based milk and just check on the label that it's fortified. with calcium, and then you know that at least you're getting some in the milk product.
Is a really, really good point. Thank you, Claire, for saying that. And what's your favorite brand?
I usually have a brand here from a German supermarket. It's called DM. So nobody will know it. Nobody
You
outside
never know,
Germany.
we might have some German people watching.
Maybe, but yeah, DM. So they have their own make, and I use oat milk usually, and that's very basic. It doesn't have any added sweeteners or anything, but that's fortified.
Right.
So.
Awesome. And for me, the calcium enriched soy milk that I prefer is Eden Soy Extra, the unsweetened version. It's in a purple carton. It's more expensive than the other stuff, but it's better for you. Okay, myth number 3. I'll let you answer this. Pardon me. You need healthy oils for your brain. True or false?
Well, when bisting myths, oh my God, it's too late in the day for me, guys. Oh, sorry, Carola, no, DM isn't in the US. I think it's just in a few countries in Germany. Yeah, this, you wouldn't be able to get it in the US, I don't think. But yes, so healthy oils for your brain. So as we're busting myths, I'm going to say that we're going to bust this one as well. So yeah, there's a lot of whole food plant-based sources of fats. Yeah, not the processed oils, basically. So maybe we define what we're talking about here and what we're not talking about, Terry. Do you want to do that?
Okay, so look, the brain loves omega-3 fats. The actual brain is 60% fat, and it really loves, oh, I'm running out of headphones. The brain really, really loves omega-3s, and omega-3s help with all the connections inside your brain. Yeah, very, very, very important, omega-3s. And you can get omega-3s from chia seeds, walnuts, flax seeds are the 3 main sources of omega-3s. And there's other healthy fats too. There's omega-6s, 9s, 7s. There's all sorts of different healthy fats, unsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, where you're going to be finding them in high fat foods such as your nuts, your seeds, your avocados, and your tofu and tempeh and soy products, because as I said before, that's 30% fat, 33% fat. So you do need the fats, but the difference between a whole fat and an oil is that the oil may have come from a food, a whole food, like let's take an olive, for example, and then somebody has squished that olive to get all the oil out of it, processed it, and stuck it in a bottle and called it healthy fat. The problem with that is just the processing can take away some of the phytonutrients present in the olive, and by multitudes of amounts. So somebody's going to come back to me and say, oh no, there's so many polyphenols in olive oil that are beneficial for your body. Well, yeah, there are some, but there's like 4,000 times more in the olive. Maybe not 4,000 times, I'm exaggerating. There's a lot more in the olive. So do we need olive oil to cook our onions so they don't stick to the pan?
No, not necessarily. You can do water sauteing, or you can do you can use a broth as well, or you can also dry pan stuff as well. If it's something like mushrooms, they'll create their own kind of moisture, and you just kind of start off slowly and then let them do their own magic on their own.
Yeah, awesome. And that makes the food taste better too, because oil actually coats your taste buds. When you taste something with oil, the first thing you're tasting is the oil. And then you miss out on the yumminess that is the food. Now, granted, there's nothing more delicious than some hot chippies. Just don't eat them all the time. If you want to make chippies at home, air fry them or bake them in the oven or something like that. But yeah, sometimes, you know, like a donut. Donuts are delicious on purpose because they want you to eat them. You can bake a donut in your oven if you want to.
Yeah, I think the general rule again here is the more unprocessed your food is, the better for you it is, because the more it's being processed, no matter whether it's a plant-based product or plant-based ingredient or animal product, whatever, the more it's being processed, the more things are being kind of stripped away, and then you end up with like nutrient-free food that's just it's basically just made out of salt and sugar, and that's what you're consuming at the end of it. So again, we all enjoy food, and we all want to have a little treat every now and again, but yeah, try and keep it generally unprocessed and a variety of whole food, unprocessed food, and you can't go wrong really if you try and stick to that
That
pattern.
is so true. Nutrient free. I want that to be on a label of like something really devoid of nutrients, like some candy or some, something nutrient free.
Nutrients are not invited to this candy bar, you know.
I've seen some memes where they put the the picture of the product, like the Doritos or the Coke or something like that, and they label it as it is. Like Coke, they'll write excellent cleaning fluid or something like that. So look around for those memes. It's pretty funny. Somebody just gave us a love heart. Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, we
thank you.
love love hearts. Yeah, we love hearts. Okay, here's one. We've probably already said this, but you will be malnourished on a plant-based diet.
I am living proof that that is not the case, Terry.
See this double chin?
All
That
the
is living
veggies.
proof. All those veggies we eat, yeah.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is an easy one to debunk, really, because again, if you're eating a wide variety and if you're eating enough calories, per day, you're not gonna be devoid of nourishment. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me, this one.
Yes. And there are some people who have put on a lot of weight because they eat. Now, this is not all people who put on a lot of weight. Let's just say particular people, they have put on a lot of weight because they have been eating food devoid of nourishment, your fast food, your quick food, your processed foods and things like that. Those people could be overweight or obese and still be malnourished because that fast food, processed food, quick food is not giving them the nutrients that they need. And switching to a whole food plant-based diet and eating as much as they want, what they're doing is they're flipping the switch. They're getting a lot less calories, a lot more nutrition, and then the weight will just come off very, very easily. And that's something that I love to see, but it's difficult for people to do sometimes because they're so used to driving through the drive-through, or they're so used to not cooking or whatever. And it's a learning process. But once you get the start to get the goodness in, your body starts to go, oh, thank God. I've
And
been
you feel
hanging on to,
better, right? You feel so much better.
yeah. And your body says, I've been hanging on to all this fat. Sorry, I just whacked my microphone. I've been hanging on to all this fat because I've been hoping that these nutrients will come in. But they're not coming in because all you're feeding me is chemicals and processed bull dust. So I'm getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And once the nutrients come floating in, the body says, I don't need this fat anymore. And then it comes off. And I'm not saying that if you just switch to a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to turn into a stick figure. That's not going to happen, but you will probably lose the majority of the weight just by making that change. And then, like any weight loss and any health journey, then you have to nuance it down, and then you have to start looking at things. Oh, okay, we've reached a plateau. Why are we not going further? Why are we still 20 pounds overweight? You know what I mean? Like, but to get from that very sick point to a healthy point, the plant-based diet is awesome sauce.
And
This,
I would just add there, Terry, that, I mean, I've been through that myself. Like, I switched about 8 years ago. So I went fully plant-based, and it was like really, really, I mean, we've both been through these kind of transitions, I guess. So I'm speaking from experience here. And I, just by changing, so I kind of, when I change my habit, I go all in. Like, not everyone does that. Sometimes some people kind of need a little bit of a transition and take it one step at a time. But for me, it's like all or nothing. So yeah, I basically just not completely, but most of the food that I was eating, which was all processed and fast food, I just basically reduced that a lot in my diet. And without even trying, I lost weight because my body just readjusted to exactly what you just explained there. But I think the really interesting thing is as well that it might feel difficult at the start. It might be overwhelming, like there's so many different choices and all these different things you've got to learn, and all these myths that we're busting today, like, it's too much information. But I think one thing that really helped me is that my taste buds changed, and I actually went from craving salty, sugary stuff to craving broccoli or
Oh,
craving tofu, or like wanting to. My body was telling me like, "Hey, eat more of that stuff." So I think it's give it some time, and if you are at the beginning of your journey, then just take it one day at a time. Try lots of different foods. There's such a huge variety of food that you can choose from. It's impossible not to find some plant-based foods that you really enjoy eating. So just focus on experimentation, and it's a fantastic thing to have like it's like opening a whole new cupboard in your pantry and just finding all of these new things that you've never eaten before.
yeah,
So
absolutely. And to like pinpoint that, don't try and buy crazy weird stuff that you don't know what it is. Just start with what you know. So if you are used to your meat and three veg, which is what I grew up on when I was a kid in Australia, that's what we had, meat and three veg. Just eat the three veg and then add some beans or add some
mhm.
legumes or add some, a soy cutlet or whatever it is that you want to do, so that it's not such a freaky out 180 degrees changing everything. All the things that you already like that are plant-based, work out what they are and just eat more of them. And then that's a start, right?
Mhm.
Okay, what else did I want to say? I wrote some notes and I was just getting a little bit technical, saying that there are some phytochemicals in plant-based foods, in all plants actually, because they're phytochemicals. That's what phytochemical means. Phyto meaning plant. They mop up cholesterol, they prevent heart disease, they prevent dementia. There's compounds that detoxify the liver, prevent and reverse fatty liver disease, and you will get mega nourished if you're eating whole plant foods. I think we've already discussed the we'll get too skinny, haven't we? Or do you want to talk about getting too skinny?
Well, I mean, we can cover it quickly if you like in a couple of minutes.
Okay. I'm not going plant-based because I'll get too skinny. That's like saying I'm not going to the gym because I'll get too muscly.
This is a first world problem, perhaps. Yeah, so again, I'm living proof that this doesn't happen necessarily. Oh, Sharon says good stuff. Thank you, Sharon. We're glad you like it. So yeah, again, it's all about really getting the right amount of nutrients, right? So I'm like a broken record, like just make sure that you're eating a wide variety of colorful, whole plant-based food and everything's perfect. That's the only rule that I follow,
Yeah,
actually, religiously.
that's a great rule. It's an absolutely great rule. So look, if you go plant-based and you scoff yourself on peanut butter frappuccinos from Starbucks and you go down to McDonald's and buy the fries every day and you drink Coca-Cola and eat Doritos, all of which apparently are vegan, they're not whole food plant-based at all. Your whole food plant-based foods are the ones that you see at the farmers market. The fruits, the vegetables, the legumes, the grains, the whole, the nuts and seeds, the herbs and spices. And did I forget one? Probably.
Water.
Those water, those things are the stuff that's going to put nutrition in your body. Now, what will happen is if you are overweight, now not everybody is overweight. Like some people are the perfect weight, but they know they're not eating healthily, and they know that it's not great for them, and they want to move to a more whole food way of eating. You just need to be cognizant of putting in more higher calorie foods into your diet, which include your nuts, your seeds, your avocados, and things like that. Maybe your soy products and stuff like that. But you will not. What will happen is if you are overweight, you'll get to a point where your body says, "Yeah, I'm happy here," and you personally may not be happy there. You may you may
No,
think,
keep going, keep
yeah,
going.
that's right. I just want to lose another 5 pounds, please, God. But your body says, no, you're really healthy here. I'm working really well. How do you know you're working really well? Your skin is clear, you're sleeping better, your moods are great, you're doing really huge poos every day, you're not grumpy. all the things happen to you, your joints aren't hurting, all the things, then you know your body is healthy and happy. And if you are a few pounds over the weight you want to be, then that's when you start talking to somebody like me or Bianca, also in our group, about, how can I lose an extra couple of pounds, or whether or not you do need to lose an extra couple of pounds. Maybe you're just perfect the way you are.
Well, we're all perfect the way we are, Terry.
That's true. That's true. Okay. All things are running out of batteries for me right now. My little beautiful light is running out of batteries. My headphones are running out of batteries. So hopefully my phone will not run out of batteries. I did promise this was going to be 30 minutes. It's already 40 minutes. Let's be quick. You cannot build muscle eating plants.
So many elite athletes would disagree with this. There's quite a few plant-based athletes that are just showing, I mean, the Olympics last year, there's a lot of stories that came out of that, bodybuilders and people like this. That's, clearly, I mean, there's a lot of evidence to show that, again, plant-based protein sources can really help build muscle and even make you quicker to recover as well. I think that's one of the other things with plant-based versus animal products.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like me to list some people?
Go for it.
Okay, the world's strongest man, Patrick Babonian, is plant-based. NFL team, the Tennessee Titans, the entire team. Isn't that awesome? Tennis legend Venus Williams, race car driver Lewis Hamilton, who recently changed his name, basketball player Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Dallas Mavericks, my team, Olympic weightlifter Kendrick Harris. I could go on and on. There are so many people who are plant-based and in professional sport.
Yeah, I mean that this gets into the world of sports nutrition. So of course, like the regime that you have with food, I guess, is a bit different to what most of us in this group will be focusing on, right? So there are certain techniques or certain food combinations that you would do before and after exercise as a serious athlete or a sports person. So yeah, I'm not the best person to give advice on sports nutrition because I'm just here to eat healthily and enjoy my food. So it's a different approach.
Yep.
But if you are interested in it, then you can build muscle and you can really make your body very, very strong and healthy.
Yeah, there's a guy called Robert Cheeke that's Cheeke, and he is an American plant-based bodybuilder, and he's written some books, so that he's good to check out. There's also a book called is it No Meat Athlete? No Meat.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe No Meat Athlete is a podcast. No Meat Athlete, I believe, is a podcast, and then The Game Changers is a movie, which is all about, thank you. And there's lots of places if you want to build muscle and you're not sure how to do it, then follow those people. Carbs make you fat. What do you reckon?
It depends what kind of carbs they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you're eating like refined white bread, for example, which is what I used to live off when I was younger, that's a plant-based food, but it's got no nutrients. This is almost nutrient-free when there's that label on it, doesn't it? That's going to be very different from eating, the whole grains where the bread comes from in the first place. So yeah, again, it depends on how processed your food is, what kind of carbs you're eating, and yeah, you can get carbs in different types of food as well, right? So maybe, again, I haven't got a list off the top of my head, Terry, so maybe you can list off some from your brain. You have a lot of examples already.
Okay, so your carbs that make you fat are usually containing fat. So you're talking about, there goes my headphones, they're gone now. Yep, see you later. I'm hoping I can hear you. If you talk, I'm hoping I can hear you. There you are coming out of the speaker. So the carbs that make you fat are the ones that contain fat. So you're talking about your cookies, your cakes, your biscuits, your donuts, your lollies, chocolate bars, all those things. They are basically, as Claire said, refined carbohydrates, usually in conjunction with fat. Now, the carbs that don't make you fat, if you eat them in the right quantities, because too many calories will add body fat, are all your whole food plants, because all whole plant foods have carbohydrates: fruit, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, fruit, not nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds do not have carbohydrates in them. Very, very small amount of carbohydrate probably in the outside of the nut and seed, in the like shell. I don't know, is that called the, what's that called, the germ? No, the shell casing. But yeah, so you're going to have carbohydrates in all your plant foods. So if you want to eat some food that has been processed, such as bread, go for the whole grain, whole wheat, whole spelt, whole einkorn, multi whatever's type of food, rather than your white flour.
Did you know, Terry, that you can make bread from buckwheat
Keep talking.
or lentil?
Oh, lentil bread.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw some videos online. I want to experiment with it because I've done like lentil flatbread before, and I do chickpea flour flatbreads as well, and I have those quite regularly. But yeah, I want to make buckwheat bread, and I think maybe I'll post a recipe soon when I try it out, because you just soak the buckwheat grains in water overnight, and then you throw it all into a mixer, and you add in a little bit of maybe salt or something, like a couple of other small ingredients, and then you just whisk it all up, stick it in the oven, and you get bread at the end of it.
Wow.
So I
So it's
really
kind
want
of
to try
like
this
a
myself.
sourdough because it ferments for a little while. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, so you have to leave it, that's why you leave it overnight, and that's why you include the water. You don't throw the water away like you would usually do after soaking
Because
legumes,
all your little
but you include the water.
bacteria is in there, aren't they? Ready to make the bread rise.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, I can't
So
wait to see that video, Claire.
watch this space. I think I might have mentioned this on a previous live, and then I didn't do it. But yeah, you'll see it if I'm successful. If I'm not, we'll never talk about it again.
I like that. That's awesome. Okay, the very, very final one is going plant-based is restrictive.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not.
So
Why is it not restrictive? Why do people think it's restrictive?
I think because we kind of, I mean, it depends on the culture you come from, right? I mean, from the cultures we come from, the Western diet, you know, we have I would say the Western diet's very restrictive because, you know, you can't eat vegetables unless you've got meat attached to it, like the meat and two or three veg. Or, you know, I know, like when I went to restaurants when I was younger, I'd always order the same thing, and you know, there's like you've got like the standard kind of foods that everyone eats. So I would say actually, at least in my experience, when I switched to plant-based, I just had this whole new world open up to me. And I'm still discovering new foods today, like 8 years later. I'm still seeing, oh, what's that? Oh, I've got to try this new grain, or I've got to try this new whatever vegetable, or oh, I've never cooked with that. Like the other day, I posted in the group, I cooked with mung beans, and I've only come across them a couple of times before. They're great, and now I can add them to my diet, you know. And it's another legume to add to my list of my growing legume cupboards that I've got in the kitchen. So
That's
absolutely
right.
not. I would say there's just so many hundreds and hundreds of different varieties of different fruits and vegetables and grains and stuff that you can explore. The world is your oyster, basically.
That's right. So many hundreds, 30,000 edible plants on the planet.
Thanks.
30,000. So if I started counting the ones that I eat, I could use my fingers probably 5 or 6 times. There's probably, you know, maybe I eat 50 or 60 different plants. There's 30,000 of them. So there's so much to explore, and yet the world eats 3 or 4 different animals, maybe 5, whatever. But yeah, so going plant-based is not restrictive at all. What happens though is that people go to a restaurant and the restaurant is not catering to them, and that can be a difficult thing. So there's 2 ways to deal with this. And I put this in my new book, shameless plug for my new book, which is going to come out in the summer in the US, and I guess in Germany as well will be the summer way.
Hopefully it'll be
in
summery.
the northern hemisphere. It'll be the summer. There's some noise in the kitchen, making very noise. Please be quiet. Thank you. I've lost my train of thought. What did
You were talking about your book coming out. So you mentioned it in your book. You mentioned about the funny thing about plant-based being restrictive.
Oh, forget it. I've got no idea. Add plants. Add them. That's all you have to do. Don't worry about just. Oh, sorry. No. It's about going to restaurants. So you go to the restaurant. Okay. So there's two ways to do it. You get an app called the Happy Cow, and you put wherever you are in, and the Happy Cow will list you, 20, 30, 50, 100 different restaurants that cater to plant-based eaters, and then you choose which one you want, and then off you go and you have a great time. There's that option. Option B is you go to your favorite restaurant that is not plant-based, and you look at the menu and you say, oh, I like this, but it's got cheese on it. Can I please have that without cheese? Is that possible? Can you please cook those veggies without butter? Is that okay? Because I can't eat dairy. Be nice to the people in the restaurants. See what they will do for you, and you'll be so surprised as to what will come out. This is spoiler alert from my book, I went to a French restaurant thinking there is no way, a French restaurant in Texas, there is no possible way I'm going to be able to eat anything except for a lettuce leaf, and that's going to be covered in oil, right? So I said to the waiter, and this is a serious French restaurant, like with French awards and everything. So very, very swish French restaurant. I said to the waiter, look, I'm plant-based. I don't like a lot of oil. Is there anything you can do for me? You should have seen what the chef made me. Absolutely delicious plant-based things. Of course, there was ratatouille. It was awesome. And I had a delicious French bistro restaurant, and I think my dinner was better than anybody else's. So don't be scared to go. You can go to a steak restaurant, for goodness sake, and order a baked potato with some veggies. It'll happen. Don't be scared to turn up to a restaurant where the other people have chosen the restaurant or whatever, and you're like, oh, there's nothing for me to eat. Just try, and you'll be able to get something to eat.
Yeah, I've had good experiences of that as well. I mean, Berlin's quite vegan friendly anyway, so there's usually lots of options for plant-based. But I did, in a previous job, I had to, we went for lunch every week, and we used to go to an Italian restaurant. And so the first couple of times I asked, they looked at me very strange because I asked for a pizza without cheese, and they were like, what? Really? Just the veggies with the base, and it's all good. But in the end, it came out and it was fine. And I was still part of the group, and, it wouldn't have been my choice of places to go, but there was a solution, right? But yeah, you might get some weird looks, especially from restaurants that aren't used to catering to plant-based, but this is changing quickly, I think, and especially in major cities and big locations.
Well, I used to live.
Ask for pizza without cheese.
I ask for pizza without cheese all the time, and I send it back if it has cheese on it. And I used to live in a little town in London, well, in the outskirts of London, and there was one Italian restaurant, and it was magnificent. The sauces were delicious, but they did not have whole grain pasta. And this is before lentil pasta was a thing, so you couldn't even buy lentil pasta. I used to bring my own pasta to an Italian restaurant, and they would use my whole grain pasta and put the sauce, make the beautiful, yummy, yummy sauce. They never had a problem with it. I probably wouldn't do that now. That was probably pretty cheeky, but you just got to talk to the people, and if they will accommodate you, that's awesome. Spend your money at that restaurant, and if they refuse, go somewhere else where they will like you better.
Or take some backup nuts or something in your bag just in case you don't get anything. If you're stuck there at the restaurant, take a little goodie bag of some plant-based snacks that you can have just in case.
Yes, I always take my own salad dressing to a restaurant. I always get my salads undressed, and I take this. Here's a plug, shameless plug, for California balsamic. It is, I know that's backwards, but it is the most beautiful balsamic vinegar on the planet. Comes in 5 billion varieties, and you can get it on my website, fabuloushealth.net. Shameless plug. All right,
Do you make
Claire,
that yourself? Do you make that yourself?
No, California balsamic makes it.
Okay, I don't know the brands. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was maybe the Terry brand.
No. There's wild huckleberry. Look at that. Yum. What else have we got? apricot. And these are the ones that I take to the restaurant in my handbag, little itty bitty ones so nobody can see them. On your salad,
Get it out.
get it out, stick it on your salad. It's all good. Claire, you've been awesome as usual.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for the people that watched live. And if you didn't watch live, please write us a question on the replay and we will be happy to answer it for you in the chats. Now, Claire, we're going to do this a bit more often because we want to get some more engagement into this group. Come on, people. We love you. We want you to be engaged in this group. We want to help you. We want you to be healthy and happy on a whole food plant-based diet. And Claire and I are going to be going live once a month. So if you like this, give us a thumbs up, give us a love, ask us what else we can do. You've already given us some suggestions in the post that I did a couple of weeks ago. We'll be answering all those questions, and anything else you want us to talk about, let us know. So Claire, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Enjoy. Have a nice day.
All right. See you later.